I woke up to the sound of Mom humming in the kitchen, the smell of cinnamon rolls drifting down the hallway like something straight out of a childhood memory. Christmas Eve always hits different in our neighborhood. Lights everywhere, kids already throwing snowballs outside, and the entire town acting like life can't get any better for 24 hours. I dragged myself out of bed, rubbing my eye, the one everyone liked to stare at. My right eye was normal. My left one, well, it wasn't. The pupil was almost pure white with a little speck of black, like somebody punched a hole in a snowball. Kids used to call me Donnie Dot or Snow Eye or straight up say I looked slow. Eventually everyone, even adults, just shortened it to Dawn. I hated it at first, but it stuck so hard it became my name. I came into the kitchen and Mom turned around with that warm smile she always uses when she tries too hard to make everything perfect. "There's my Christmas Eve boy," she said, handing me a cinnamon roll the size of my hand. "Your friends texted you. They're planning that little hangout tonight." That actually made me smile. For once, it looked like a normal Christmas Eve. Snow falling slow outside. Dad stringing up lights along the porch railing. The radio playing some cheerful song about reindeer. For once, nobody staring at my weird eye. No whispers. No jokes behind my back. Just peace. We spent half the morning decorating. Mom let me climb the ladder to set the star on the tree. The same glittery star we've had since before I was born. When I stepped back, the whole living room glowed warm and gold. Perfect. Like the world was giving me one day where nothing was wrong. Even walking to the store later felt magical. The sky was bright. The air sharp but not freezing. Kids laughing as they tried to sled down tiny hills. Some guy in a Santa costume waved at cars on the corner. Everything felt safe. And maybe that's why the weirdness stood out. When I was crossing the street, I noticed a man standing completely still in the snow. He was facing me, but not looking at me, more like looking through me. His smile was too wide for his face, the kind that made the skin at the corners stretch. And his eyes, they weren't blinking. Snowflakes were piling on his shoulders, untouched. I blinked, and when I looked again, he was gone, like he never stood there at all. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was nothing. Felt like nothing at the time, and I didn't tell anyone. Why ruin Christmas Eve? I kept walking, ignoring the cold little shiver running down my spine, because the truth is, nothing was wrong yet, but this was the last normal morning I'd ever have. The last time I'd feel safe on Christmas Eve, and the last day before the snow stopped behaving like snow. Later that afternoon, the whole town felt like one giant holiday card. Lights glowing off the fresh snow, families carrying bags of gifts, the smell of hot chocolate everywhere. Nothing should have felt wrong, but little things started stacking up. I kept seeing footprints, not normal ones, not boot prints, not even animal tracks. These were long, thin, almost like someone walked barefoot, but with toes stretched too far apart. And they weren't sinking into the snow. They sat on top of it, perfectly formed, like the snow had hardened under them. Maybe I should have turned back, but I kept going. My friends, Ryan and Sierra, were meeting me at the community center for our little Christmas Eve hangout. I got there early, mostly to avoid people staring at my screwed-up eye. The inside was warm, glowing with strings of colored lights, and the music from the speakers echoed through the empty hall. I sat on one of the folding chairs, scrolling my phone. Ryan texted that they were running late. 5 minutes passed. 10, 15. I tried to relax, tried to tell myself nothing was weird. Then the door at the far end of the hall creaked open. "Ryan," I called out. No answer. The lights flickered just once, but it was enough to make the shadows stretch across the floor like they were reaching for something. I stood up. My breath came out shaky. "Hello." The figure stepped through the doorway. Tall, too tall, like its head nearly brushed the frame. Its arms hung low, almost to its knees. I felt my chest tighten, but I forced myself closer. Maybe someone in a costume? Maybe the Santa volunteer? But then the figure leaned sideways, unnaturally slow, like it wasn't bending bones, just shifting. And its face slid into view. Pale, stretched grin. Eyes glowing the faintest red. snow clinging to its skin, unmelted. The same smile I saw on the street. I stepped back. "Hey man!" The event's closed. Tilted its head. A crackling sound came from its throat, like ice breaking. Then it whispered, barely, almost lost under the hum of the lights. "Don!" My blood froze. Before I could move, the front doors burst open and Ryan's voice cut through the hall. "Don! Yo! Why re you standing alone like a creep?" I spun around. The tall figure behind me, gone. Just cold air where it had stood. Snow melting on the floor. Ryan looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You good?" I didn't know how to answer. All I knew was one thing. Someone or something outside knew my name. And Christmas Eve wasn't even close to over. Ryan and Sierra kept asking if I was okay, but I couldn't shake the cold crawling under my skin. I kept glancing at the hallway where the tall thing had stood, half expecting its head to slowly slide back around the corner. But nothing moved, nothing breathed, nothing whispered my name again. We tried to act normal, played some games, ate the cookies Sierra brought, but I couldn't stop noticing the temperature inside the building dropping. Not like the heater broke, more like the cold was alive, creeping in through the walls. Around 8 p.m. we finally stepped outside. Instant regret. The town looked wrong. The snow falling wasn't soft anymore. It fell in sharp flakes, stiff, like tiny shards of glass. And the sky had this pale red glow moving behind the clouds, pulsing slow like a heartbeat. "What the hell?" Sierra whispered. Ryan laughed nervously. Probably just the aurora thing people keep talking about. But there was no aurora. I knew that, and deep down they did too. I pulled my hood tighter, trying not to stare at the empty street. But then I noticed the footprints again. Those long, stretched, barefoot ones. And this time, they circled us. "Okay, nope," Ryan said. "Let's just get home before this storm gets weird." We walked fast, crunching through the stiff snow. Every few seconds I felt something behind me. Not footsteps, just presence. Like tall shadows moving out of sight. We passed the old Miller house, the one with the wooden fence and broken porch light. The whole yard was covered in untouched snow. At least it looked untouched, until Sierra gasped. "Guys, look!" At the center of the yard stood another tall, lanky figure, staring at us. Its arms hung long and limp. Its grin stretched too wide. Its red eyes glowed dim and hateful. But what made my stomach twist wasn't the creature. It was what lay in the snow around it. Shapes, dozens of them. Everyone on our street put plastic reindeer and candy canes in their yards for Christmas. But these looked bent, mangled, snapped in half like something had thrown them around. And the snow under the creature? It was tinted pink. Not gory yet, just stained, like something had dragged across it. The creature took one slow step forward. The snow didn't crunch under its feet. It walked on top of it. Ryan grabbed my shoulder hard. "Don, don't look at its face, just don't." But I already had. The second it saw my left eye, its smile stretched a little wider, like it recognized me, like it was waiting. Then it whispered again, the same crackling voice as before. "Dune." My legs went numb. Sierra screamed and grabbed my hand. "Run, run." We all bolted, snow tearing at our boots. The creature's footsteps silent behind us. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because I could hear it moving. Fast, too fast, gliding across the snow like it wasn't bound to the ground at all. And the worst part? Every time I blinked, I swear I heard more footsteps joining it. More of them, calling my name. Dune. Christmas Eve was supposed to be safe. Now it was the night the snow turned alive. We tore down the street, slipping on the stiff snow that cracked like thin ice under our boots. Every breath burned my lungs. Every shadow felt like it was shifting toward us. Behind us, the whispering grew louder. More voices now, layered, broken, like wind rattling inside hollow bones. Dune, Don. Why my name? Why only my name? We reached Ryan's house first. He fumbled with his keys, hands shaking so hard they slipped from his grip twice. "Hurry!" Sierra yelled, staring down the street. I didn't want to turn around, but I did, and I immediately wished I hadn't. They were coming. Not one, not two, at least 7 tall, lanky figures gliding silently over the snow. Their arms dangled unnaturally low, fingers almost brushing the ground. Their faces all had that same stretched grin, same glowing red eyes, all focused on me. Only me. Don, inside! Ryan shrieked. I stumbled through the door just as he slammed it shut. He locked the deadbolt, shoved a chair under the handle, then backed away, panting. Okay, Ryan said, pacing. We call 911. We call the police. We call someone. But when Sierra pulled out her phone, her face went blank. No service, she whispered. I had full bars an hour ago. Now it's just gone. All our phones were the same. 0 bars. No Wi-Fi. Nothing. Like the whole world went quiet. Ryan peeked through the blinds. I don't see them. Maybe they left. But I knew they didn't, because I could still hear them. Out there, whispering my name. Dune. Sierra turned to me, her voice shaking. Why do they want you, Dawn? I swallowed hard. I don't know. But deep down, something inside me felt wrong. Like a memory I didn't want to remember. Like something familiar calling me back. No, I shook my head. No, this is stupid. They don't know me. They're just monsters. They're just trying to scare. Boom. The whole house shook. All 3 of us froze. Another boom. Heavier this time. Like something massive slammed into the side of the house. Ryan whispered, "They're trying to get in." Sierra grabbed my arm with white-knuckled terror. Don, what if they're here for you? Like specifically? I didn't answer, because the truth was pressing down on my chest like a weight. Every time the creatures whispered the name Dawn, my left eye pulsed with a sharp, electric sting. Like it wasn't part of me at all. Like it was reacting to them. Boom, boom, boom. The walls shook violently now. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the kitchen, a plate shattered. Ryan backed away from the windows. Dude, they're everywhere out there. I don't think... They're not trying to break the door. They're trying to break the whole house. But then, everything stopped. No shaking, no whispering, no sound, just silence. A silence that crawled into my bones. Sierra finally dared to whisper, "Do you think they left?" I inhaled slowly. My breath hitched, because outside, just above the deadbolt lock, the doorknob began to turn. Slowly, deliberately, like something on the other side was testing it. Patiently, and only for me, the whispers returned, now just inches beyond the door. Dune, open. The doorknob kept turning back and forth, slow, deliberate clicks that felt like they were tapping directly into my nerves. Sierra backed up until she hit the couch. Ryan grabbed a fireplace poker, but his hands were trembling so badly the metal clinked against the floor. None of them were calling Ryan. None of them were calling Sierra. Every whisper was for me. Dawn, Dawn, Dawn. I stepped back from the door, but something inside me felt like it was being pulled forward, like a hook lodged deep behind my eyes. My left eye throbbed again. Sharp, stinging, like someone twisting a needle inside it. I winced and grabbed my face. Ryan froze. Bro, your eye, it's like getting brighter. What? I snapped. But when I blinked, the room flickered. Just a flash, like the world sharpened for a half second. The edges of every shadow warped, bending in ways they shouldn't. Sierra moved closer. Dawn, something's wrong with you. I shook my head. I don't know what's happening. Click. The doorknob turned one last time, then stopped. We waited. Silence. Until a soft scraping sound moved along the outside wall, as if fingertips, long, sharp fingertips, were dragging around the house, tracing the outline of the home, mapping it, searching. Dawn! A voice hissed from somewhere near the back window. Come! Sierra covered her mouth, shaking. Ryan whispered, Dude! They're surrounding the whole house. The whispers circled. One outside the kitchen window, another near the garage, one sliding across the siding like its palms were flat against it, feeling for me. My chest tightened. Why me? Why are they calling my name? Sierra's eyes met mine, fearful, but soft. Dawn, did anything ever happen to you before this? Anything strange about your eye? No, I snapped. But the moment I said it, a memory flashed across my mind. Something cold, blurry, from when I was a kid. A hospital room, a doctor shining a light into my left eye, my mom crying. I shoved the memory down. Ryan peeked through a slit in the blinds. What he saw made him drop the blinds so fast they slapped the window. What? Sierra gasped. What did you see? Ryan swallowed. They're just standing there, not moving, all facing the house. I forced myself to look too. I lifted one blind with a shaking hand. Across the snowy street, in the glow of a flickering street lamp, dozens of tall, thin figures stood perfectly still. Their glowing red eyes hovered like dim embers in the storm, all of them staring at Ryan's house. No, not the house. At me. Sierra grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. Dawn, we have to hide. We have to get out of here. They're not leaving. The creatures stepped forward all at the same time, one synchronized movement, like they shared a single mind. Then they stopped again, waiting, calling me without speaking. My eye pulsed once more, harder than ever. It felt like something inside me was answering. Sierra whispered, terrified, Dawn, what if they're calling you because you're one of them? I didn't breathe, because deep down, for a moment, it didn't feel like she was wrong. Sierra's words hung in the air like poison. Dawn, what if they're calling you because you're one of them? I snapped back instantly. I'm not, I said, harder than I meant to. My eye doesn't mean anything. People just think I'm weird. Ryan shook his head. Yeah, Sierra, chill. Dawn ain't special. He just looks different. Doesn't mean snow demons want him. Sierra swallowed but nodded. The tension eased just a little, but outside, the creatures didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even breathe. They stood shoulder to shoulder like a wall of stretched, frozen shadows, their smiles faintly visible in the swirling snow. Okay, Ryan whispered. If they don't want you, then what the hell do they want? Before I could answer, a loud thud slammed against the back of the house. We all jumped. Another thud, heavier. Sierra covered her ears. They're trying to get inside. Ryan grabbed his phone and checked the emergency alerts again. Nothing. No warnings. No curfews. No evacuation message. Just a cheerful Christmas Eve notification from some store. It didn't make sense. Dawn, Sierra whispered. Why would they surround this house? Not the neighbors? Not the street? Just us. I forced myself to think. My heart was hammering so loud it made my thoughts shake. It's not me, I said quietly. It can't be. They don't even know my name. They're not saying anything. It just sounds like my name. Ryan froze. What? I swallowed. You heard it. It wasn't English. It didn't even sound human. We're panicking. Our brains hear a whisper and fill in the blanks. Sierra's eyes widened. So it wasn't calling you? It was just noise? Exactly. And for the first time in 10 minutes, the idea made sense. They weren't calling for me. They weren't calling anyone. They were communicating with each other. Another thud shook the back door, but this one wasn't trying to get in. It was a pattern. Thud, 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 thud. Ryan stepped back. Bro, that sounded like knocking. Sierra grabbed my arm. Dawn, if they weren't saying your name, then what were they trying to do? My mouth went dry. They're not trying to get inside. I stared toward the back door, my breath fogging in the cold air seeping through the cracks. They're trying to lure us out. The knocking stopped. The house went silent. But outside, the entire wall of creatures took one synchronized step closer to the porch. Closer to us. No chosen one. No destiny. Just a simple, horrifying truth. They didn't need me. They just needed someone to step outside. The porch light flickered as the creatures took that single, unified step closer. Snow swirled around their legs, but they stood perfectly still. Too still for anything that was supposed to be alive. Sierra grabbed my sleeve so tight her nails dug through my sweater. Ryan raised the fireplace poker again, but even he looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. "Dawn," he whispered. "What do they want with us?" I swallowed hard. "They want someone to step outside so they can do whatever they do." Ryan slowly shook his head. "Why? Why us?" That was the part that terrified me. I didn't have an answer. Before I could think, movement flashed at the end of the street. Someone bundled in a thick winter coat was running fast, snow crunching under their boots. "Hey!" Ryan hissed, pointing. "Someone's out there." We all rushed to the window. The stranger ran past the street lamp, panting hard, slipping in the fresh snow. And when they realized what was waiting at the end of the block, they froze. The creatures all turned their heads toward the person at the exact same time, their necks snapping into place like clicking gears. Every single red eye locked onto them. "Oh my God!" Sierra breathed. The stranger didn't scream. They didn't even try to run back. They stood there, shaking, realizing they'd walked right into something they didn't understand. One creature, slightly taller than the rest, tilted its head. Slowly, curiously, the stranger whispered, "Please," and then they moved. Not the creatures, the stranger. They took one tiny, terrified step backward, and the creatures responded like a trap snapping shut. All of them lunged forward at once. Sierra screamed and ducked away from the window. Ryan stumbled back. I slammed the blinds shut even though I couldn't stop myself from hearing. A shriek, snow crunching violently, something heavy dragging. Then silence, terrible, suffocating silence. Ryan fell onto the couch, shaking. Bro. They pounced on that person like wolves. Sierra's voice cracked. Are they eating people?" I didn't answer. I was still staring at the blinds, my breath coming out in sharp clouds, because something was pressing against the other side. A shadow, tall, thin, motionless. It wasn't trying to break in. It was waiting, the same way a wolf waits outside a cave for something to crawl out. And then, a long, slow fingertip dragged across the window glass. Sierra whimpered. Ryan covered his mouth. The creature didn't growl, didn't scratch, didn't bang. It just slid its finger across the glass again. One line, then another, then another. I realized what it was doing. "Dawn," Sierra whispered. "Is it drawing something?" I stepped closer. The creature was drawing a doorway, a door shape, right on the window, as if telling us, "Come out, or we'll make our own way in." We watched the creature finish tracing the shape of a door on the window, its long finger dragging downward, slow and deliberate. Frost collected where it touched, leaving a perfect outline. Not claw marks, not cracks, a symbol. Sierra pressed both hands over her mouth. "Dawn, why is it doing that?" Ryan backed up until he hit the wall. "Bro, they're not trying to break in. They're giving us a choice." I swallowed hard. "No, they're following some kind of rule," I whispered. "They're not entering unless we step out first." Sierra frowned. "But why did they kill that person in the snow?" My stomach dropped, because that part was obvious. "They stepped," I said quietly. "Just one step. That was enough." Ryan rubbed his face with shaking hands. "So if we stay inside, we're safe?" "I don't know if we're safe," I said. "But they're not breaking the house open. Not yet." We all froze when the creature leaned in closer. Its glowing red eyes hovered inches from the glass. The smile never changed, stretched too wide, too flat, like it wasn't meant to express happiness. Just teeth. Then it did something that made my blood run cold. Tapped on the window, just once. A soft, polite little knock. "Let me in." My breath caught. "They're intelligent," I whispered. Ryan threw his hands up. "What, so they're smart demons?" "Nah man, this is insane." Sierra grabbed my wrist. Dawn, please tell me they'll go away. Before I could answer, the house made a strange creak, like weight shifting on the roof. We froze. Another creak. Slow. Measured. Ryan's eyes widened. Don't tell me they're climbing. I grabbed a flashlight and pointed it at the ceiling. Small flakes of drywall drifted down with each sound. 5 seconds later, snow slid past the upstairs window, not falling downward, falling sideways. Something was walking across the roof. Sierra cried out quietly, Dawn, one of them is up there, right above us. Then we heard it, a long, slow dragging sound overhead, like a hand sliding across shingles. Then, thump, directly above the living room. All three of us jumped. The creature at the window tilted its head sharply, as if responding to the one on the roof. A second later, the tapping stopped. The smile faded. The eyes didn't blink, didn't dim, they just shifted upward, watching the ceiling, waiting. Sierra whispered, "Why did it stop tapping?" I felt the realization hit me like ice in my lungs. Because the one on the roof found a weak spot. The lights flickered. Something heavy pressed down from above. The drywall cracked. A thin, pale hand with long fingers poked through the ceiling. Sierra screamed. Ryan dropped to the floor. I grabbed them both and pulled them toward the hallway as more cracks spiderwebbed across the ceiling. The creature wasn't breaking in because it was violent. It was breaking in because it had permission. Something had happened earlier, something we missed. A window not closed properly. A door not locked right. A rule broken. Ryan yelled, "Dawn, the window in the bathroom. IT doesn't latch right." My heart stopped. "The bathroom window." Ryan shouted again, his voice cracking with panic. Sierra grabbed my arm. "Dawn, we have to close it." But it was too late. The creature on the roof already knew. It had known the moment it slid its hand across the shingles and felt the loose latch, like it could sense the flaw in the house's defenses. The cracks in the ceiling grew deeper. Crack, a long, pale forearm pushed down through the drywall, dust pouring like falling snow. The fingers stretched, searching, tapping along the ceiling as if feeling for the softest spot to break through. Sierra screamed and covered her ears. Ryan crawled away, kicking frantically at the rug. I grabbed them both by their jackets. "We're going to the bathroom. Now." We sprinted down the hallway as the ceiling moaned behind us, plaster snapping like old bones. Thump, another hit from above. Thump, thump, faster now. Urgent. The creature on the roof had stopped being patient. When we reached the bathroom door, I shoved it open so hard the hinges squealed. The room was freezing. Our breath fogged instantly. The window was cracked open half an inch. Sierra gasped, "Oh my God. Dawn, look." Snow was pushed inward on the sill, fresh snow, meaning something had been at the window recently. "I'll close it," I said, rushing forward. Ryan grabbed my hoodie. "No, what if it grabs you?" But I didn't care. I couldn't let one slip inside. Not in here. Not in a tiny room with no escape. I reached toward the window latch, then froze, because I saw it. A fingertip, just barely visible, pressed against the outside glass. Perfectly still. Waiting. Listening. I backed up slowly. "Dawn," Sierra whispered, voice shaking. "Is it standing right outside the window?" I nodded once. Ryan swore under his breath, stepping away from the sill like it was radioactive. The fingertip dragged across the glass. Screech. A long, sharp sound that made my teeth ache. Not a symbol this time. Not a door shape. It was scraping the shape of an eye, a round outline, a pupil, lashes, staring back at us. It's drawing us," Sierra whispered. "It's drawing what it sees." But then, the fingertip stopped. Not because the creature left, but because something above us moved. Boom! A massive impact shook the ceiling right above the bathroom. Ceiling dust rained down. Something heavy was walking across the rafters, back toward the hole it made, back toward the hallway. Ryan whispered, Bro, why'd it stop? Why'd it go back?" A cold realization hit me. "It doesn't want in through here," I said quietly. Sierra swallowed hard. "Then what does it want?" I stepped closer to the hallway door, listening. The roof creature wasn't wandering. It was moving with purpose, deliberate, knowing exactly where it wanted to drop in. I whispered the answer. "It wants whoever's the first to panic and run." Ryan's breathing sped up. Sierra covered her mouth. A second later, a huge chunk of ceiling collapsed in the hallway, and something tall and pale, longer than a person should ever be, dropped down in complete silence. It didn't rush, didn't lunge, didn't charge. It stood there, facing the bathroom, listening to our breaths, waiting for the one who moved first. The hallway was silent after the crash. Not quiet, silent, like the air itself froze. Sierra clutched my arm so tightly her nails dug into my skin. Ryan's breaths were sharp, uneven gasps he tried and failed to control. I slowly eased the bathroom door open a crack. Just enough to see. Just enough to hope it wasn't as bad as it sounded. It was worse. The creature stood in the hallway, its body hunched from the fall. Its arms hung nearly to the floor. Its neck was too long, too loose, like it had no bones. But its face was bent the wrong way, mouth cracked open in a silent smile. Snow dusted its shoulders. Pieces of drywall clung to its back. It wasn't looking around. It wasn't sniffing. It wasn't searching. It was listening, waiting for movement. Its head twitched, turning slightly toward the bathroom. Sierra's breath hitched. I slapped my hand over her mouth. The creature froze. Every inch of it tightened. It had heard that. The thing stepped forward, one long, creaking stride. "THMP." His foot hit the hardwood. "THMP." Another step. Ryan mouthed, "Done." "What do we do?" I mouthed back, "Don't move. Don't breathe. Not yet." But the house wasn't helping us. Wind howled down the chimney. A loose cabinet door in the kitchen knocked softly in the draft. The furnace clicked in the basement. Each sound made the creature jerk, twisting its head toward the noise with unnatural speed. It was reacting to noise, not hunting us specifically. Thank God. But then Ryan made the smallest sound. Not even a gasp. Just a shaking inhale through his nose. The creature's head snapped toward the bathroom. I shut the door instinctively, but not fast enough. The creature heard the hinge squeak. "THMP, THMP, THMP." His footsteps exploded toward us. The door shuddered as something slammed against it. Sierra screamed. The creature growled, low, glitchy, choked, like it was copying a sound it didn't understand. It hit the door again. Slam. Wood cracked. Ryan backed into the bathtub. "We're gonna die, Don." "Shut up," I yelled. The creature hit the door a third time. The hinges bent inward. We had seconds before it got in. I scanned the tiny bathroom. Shower curtain. Thin wooden cabinet. Toilet. Frost-covered window with a creature still outside it. Trapped. Then I spotted it. The vent grate near the floor. Small, but the screws were loose. "Sierra," I whispered, "help me rip this open." Her eyes widened. "We're crawling into the vent? Unless you want to greet that?" I pointed at the cracking door. She didn't argue again. We dropped to our knees and yanked at the metal grate. It screeched loudly as we ripped it off. The creature outside the window immediately leaned in, its red eyes flaring. I froze. But before it could smash through, the roof creature slammed the door again, drawing its attention back. A moment bought. Tiny moment. I shoved Ryan toward the vent. "Go! Now!" He slid in headfirst, kicking his legs to fit. The door burst inward. The creature's arm shot through. Long, pale, bending wrong, fingers groping wildly. Sierra screamed and dove into the vent next. I went last. The creature's hand brushed the back of my sock as I kicked inside, just an inch away from grabbing me. I pulled myself into the vent, metal scraping my skin, heart punching my ribs. Behind me, the creature forced half its head through the broken door, its smile stretching wider at the sight of us escaping. It didn't roar. It didn't screech. It whispered, "Stay." The vent rattled as I climbed forward. And for the first time tonight, I realized the creatures didn't just want us outside. They wanted us cornered. The metal vent groaned under our weight as we crawled deeper inside. The air was freezing, sharp enough to sting my throat every time I breathed. Sierra was in front of me, Ryan ahead of her, both moving way too slowly for the panic clawing at my spine. Behind us, the bathroom creature pressed its face into the broken door frame. I could still hear it, that wet, glitchy whisper, "Stay." The vent walls vibrated as it scraped its fingernails along the metal, following the sound of our movement. Screech, hunting by noise. My breathing sped up. I tried to quiet it, but I couldn't. Panic made it impossible. "Dawn," Sierra whispered shakily. "Where does this even go?" "Basement, I think," I whispered back. Ryan hissed, "We can't go to the basement. My uncle said the animals died down there last winter. Something's wrong with the air." "We don't have a choice," I said. Another scrape echoed behind us, louder this time. Screech. The creature was forcing its arm deeper into the vent opening, trying to reach us. The metal groaned. I crawled faster, pushing Sierra to move. "Hurry, hurry." Ryan's voice trembled ahead. Guys, stop." We froze. "What?" Sierra whispered. Ryan lifted his flashlight, and that's when we saw it. Dead end. The vent didn't branch off. It didn't turn. It just collapsed halfway down. Snow packed inside like something had shoved it shut from the outside. Sierra gasped. "We're trapped." Behind us, the creature growled, a glitchy, rising static sound that made every hair on my body stand up. I turned around in the cramped vent. The creature's arm was inside now, up to the shoulder, its fingers brushing the metal floor as it reached for us, joints cracking as it twisted unnaturally to fit. It shouldn't have been able to reach that far, but it was, and then pulled back. Not because it gave up, because something else pressed into the opening behind it. We heard a muffled thump outside the bathroom, then another, like footsteps, heavy ones. Then a second pale arm slid into the vent beside the first. Longer, thinner, faster. "There's another one?" Ryan yelled, voice cracking. I grabbed his ankle and yanked him back. "Move! Backward! Backward!" We scrambled in reverse. Sierra slipping, Ryan kicking, me shoving them both through panic. The creatures were crawling in. Both of them, their fingers scraping toward us, their bodies folding into shapes that shouldn't exist, bones bending like wet clay. The vent walls started to dent inward from the weight of their bodies pushing in. I felt metal dig into my ribs as I backed up. Sierra sobbed, Don, they're going to squeeze through." "No," I said. "They're going to crush the vent first." The creatures' heads emerged into view now, eyes glowing, smiles splitting wider as they spotted us. They whispered in unison, out-eyed. I kicked backward with everything I had. The vent gave way. Metal ripped open and the three of us dropped out into the kitchen. We hit the tile hard. Pots clattered. Something broke. The creatures heard it. Above us, the vent ceiling bulged downward. Ryan scrambled to his feet. "Don, they're coming through the ceiling." The metal tore open like paper. Pale leg dropped through. Long, bent like an insect limb. Sierra screamed. A second creature began pushing its head through the tier. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a cast iron pan, and swung it upward with everything in me. Crack. The creature's head snapped back, and black, syrup-thick blood splattered across my arm. Sierra covered her mouth, gagging. The creature didn't scream, smiled. Then all three creatures slammed their limbs through the vent hole at once. Dozens of fingers reaching, bending, grabbing. I yelled, "Run! Basement! Now!" Even if the air was bad, even if something worse was down there, it was better than being torn apart in this kitchen. Ryan threw the basement door open. Sierra bolted through. I turned back to look one more time and saw one creature drop from the ceiling, landing silently on all fours, its head twisted backward, its smile wider than a person's should ever be. It whispered, "Dawn." Not because I was chosen, not because I was special, but because I was the last one still looking at it. I slammed the basement door behind me as it lunged. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the thing from the window, its limb bending backward like a snapped branch, its smile stretching too wide. But when morning hit, everything felt normal again. Snow drifted peacefully. Christmas lights blinked slowly on houses up and down the street. Kids were outside making snowmen like nothing was wrong. I kept telling myself I imagined it. Lack of sleep, stress, whatever. But then they started noticing things too. Our neighbor, Mr. Halden, was standing in his yard, staring at the woods like he forgot how to breathe. When I walked by, he didn't even blink, just whispered, "They weren't in that spot yesterday." I looked at the trees, same pines, same shadows, but then one of them twitched, just a tiny shift, like it shivered. I froze. Another tree leaned an inch, then another, but the snow on the branches didn't fall at all. Wind couldn't do that. Nothing natural could. I backed away, heartbeat punching through my ears. When I got home, Mom was decorating cookies. Dad was wrapping gifts. Everything smelled like vanilla and peppermint. Normal. I didn't want to ruin it. But then Dad whispered, "Did you hear it?" I paused. "Hear what?" He leaned closer. "Someone was whispering your name outside last night." My chest locked up. "Dad, why didn't you?" "I thought it was one of your friends messing around. But it didn't sound human, Dawn." My stomach dropped like ice. Before I could answer, something slammed against our front door so hard the wreath fell off the hook. Mom jumped. Dad grabbed the closest thing, a fire poker. I slowly stepped toward the door. Another slam shook the whole house. And then a voice spoke through the wood. My voice. "Dawn, let me in. It's Christmas." My legs turned to stone. Mom covered her mouth. Dad raised the poker. Then the voice repeated, louder, warped. "Dawn, let me in." The door frame creaked, wood splintered. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The house fell completely silent. I stared through the peephole. Snow. A few footprints. Nothing else. But the footprints were spaced too far apart. Like whatever was standing there was taller than a person. Dad whispered, "Dawn, they're getting bold." And for the first time, I realized something. Whatever these things were, they weren't trying to break in. They were trying to get me. And Christmas Eve wasn't even over yet.